The great hall of the Zarathian palace was silent, except for the low hum of glowing crystal walls. Tall alien guards stood like statues, their silver armor shining under the strange blue light. In the center, a long pathway led to the throne. A massive seat carved from black stone, surrounded by floating orbs of light. On that throne sat the Zarathian queen, her presence both beautiful and terrifying. Her long crown of silver spines caught the light, and her deep, golden eyes watched every movement in the room. 2 guards marched forward, pulling a man in chains between them. The man's steps were heavy, but his back stayed straight. He was Captain Elias Kane, a human soldier far from Earth. His uniform was torn from battle, and a faint scar crossed his cheek. Yet he did not look away from the queen. Every step he took echoed in the vast chamber. The sound made the tension even stronger. The queen raised one elegant hand, and the guards stopped. Her voice was soft but carried through the hall like music and steel combined. "So, this is the human who saved my warriors," she said, her eyes studying him like a puzzle. Elias stayed silent, unsure if speaking would be seen as boldness or insult. "You entered our battlefield without invitation, fought against our enemies, and risked your life for soldiers who were not your own," she continued. "For that, you stand here before me, not as a prisoner, but as one who may earn my trust." A low murmur passed among the alien council members seated along the walls. Some looked curious, others hostile. One advisor stepped forward, his skin a deep shade of blue, his voice sharp. "My queen, humans cannot be trusted. They serve only themselves." The queen's eyes did not leave Elias. "That is what I intend to discover," she replied calmly. She leaned forward, the light catching the edges of her crown. "There's only one way for me to know if your loyalty is real." Elias felt the eyes of every alien in the room on him. "What way?" he asked, his voice steady. The queen rose from her throne, each step she took making the floor lights pulse with energy. When she stood before him, she was taller than he expected, her presence almost overwhelming. "The test of loyalty," she said, her words heavy with meaning. "It is an ancient ritual, one that binds 2 beings in a connection deeper than blood." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "This bond reveals all, your past, your fears, your desires. Nothing can be hidden." Elias frowned, unsure what she meant. "And if I refuse?" he asked. The queen's gaze sharpened. "Then you will be returned to the battlefield where your survival is uncertain," she said slowly. "But if you accept, and if you prove worthy, you will have a place here, not as a prisoner, but as my chosen protector." The hall seemed to grow colder. Elias could hear the faint hum of the crystals again, like they were reacting to the queen's words. An advisor whispered something, and several council members exchanged tense looks. The queen tilted her head, her golden eyes catching his in a way that made him feel exposed. "This is not a simple oath," she continued. "It is a bond that no human has ever survived." Elias felt a slow knot form in his stomach. He remembered the chaos of the battlefield, the screams, the alien soldiers he had dragged to safety. He thought of how they had looked at him with shock, a human saving them instead of killing them. Now he understood why this audience felt different. It was not about reward, it was a trial, and the cost of failure could be his life. "You will have until the next sunrise to decide," the queen said finally. She stepped back, and the guards took a firm grip on his arms again. As they turned him toward the exit, she added one last thing, her voice low but sharp enough to cut through. "The air, if you accept and fail, Captain Kane, you will not live to see another dawn." The doors to the great hall opened with a deep rumble. The guards led him out into the dim corridors of the palace. Behind him, the queen returned to her throne, her expression unreadable, but Elias could feel her eyes on him even as the heavy doors closed. In that moment, he knew this was more than a test. It was a challenge that could change his life forever. The cell was not what Elias expected. It was not dark or damp like a prison, but bright with a soft golden glow. A single bed sat in the center, and the walls were lined with strange patterns that seemed to shift when he looked too long. 2 guards stood outside, silent and unmoving. He paced slowly, his mind replaying the Queen's words over and over. The test of loyalty, a bond that could kill him if he failed. Why would she offer such a thing to a stranger from another world? He thought of refusing, but the image of the battlefield came back to him. Refusal meant being sent back there alone, and he had seen enough war to know it would be a death sentence. A soft hiss filled the air, and the door slid open. A tall alien entered, not a guard, but dressed in flowing robes of deep violet. His face was narrow, his eyes bright silver. "I am Varric, the Queen's chief advisor," the alien said, his voice smooth but carrying an edge. He studied Elias like one might examine a dangerous weapon. "You must understand what you are agreeing to." Elias stopped pacing. "What happens in this test?" he asked. Varric moved closer, his long fingers tracing one of the glowing wall patterns. "It is not a fight, not in the way you know," Varric began. "It is a merging, a deep link between your mind and the Queen's. Through it, she will see every truth you carry, and you will see hers." Elias felt a chill run through him. "You mean all my memories, all my thoughts?" "Every single one," Varric confirmed without hesitation. "Your victories, your regrets, your hidden fears, even the moments you wish to forget." He turned his silver gaze fully on Elias. "And she will feel them, as if they are her own." Elias frowned. "That doesn't sound like something a human brain is built for." Varric's lips curved slightly, but it was not a smile. "It is not, which is why no human has survived," he said softly. "Your mind may break under the strain, and if it does, the bond will shatter, and both of you will suffer." The words settled heavy in the room. Elias ran a hand over his jaw, trying to think. "Why me? You have thousands of warriors. Why test me?" Varric tilted his head. "The Queen believes your actions on the battlefield may mean you are different. But belief is not enough. The bond will prove it, or destroy it." Elias crossed his arms. "And if I pass?" Varric stepped back, his robe flowing like liquid shadow. "Then you will hold a place no human has ever held. Protector, advisor, perhaps even something more." His tone hinted at meaning beyond the words. Elias wasn't sure if that was a promise or a warning. "You have until sunrise to decide," Varric said, moving toward the door. "But know this, once begun, there is no turning back." The door closed with a soft hiss, leaving Elias alone once more. He sat on the bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the strange shifting walls. He thought of Earth, the smell of rain, the sound of city streets. He thought of the soldiers he had saved, their alien faces filled with surprise that a human would help them. Was this test really about loyalty, or something else entirely? And why did the thought of seeing inside the Queen's mind unsettle him more than her threats? Hours passed, though he could not tell by the alien light. His thoughts were broken. When the door hissed again, this time it was not Varric, but a small figure in servant's robes. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes wide and fearful. She glanced at the guards outside before stepping inside quickly. "You must not take the test," she whispered, her voice trembling. Elias stood. "Why?" he asked. The servant looked toward the door, as if afraid of being overheard. "The last one who tried, he screamed until his voice broke," she said. "When it ended, there was nothing left in his eyes, nothing human at all." Her words sent a sharp chill through Elias. "What happened to him?" "They say he lives," she replied softly, "but only his body remains." Elias felt the weight of her warning, but he also knew turning away would mean he was no different from the cowards who abandoned allies in battle. The servant pressed something into his hand. It was a small silver pendant shaped like a circle with a crack through it. "This is the mark of the broken bond," she whispered. "Keep it, to remember what might happen." Before he could ask more, she slipped out. The door hissing closed behind her. Elias stood alone, the cold weight of the pendant in his hand. He knew the choice was already made, even if he hadn't spoken it yet. When the sun rose over this alien world, he would face the Queen's test, no matter the cost. The night before the sunrise felt longer than any night Elias had known. The alien palace was silent, yet the silence felt alive, as if the walls themselves were listening. He sat on the edge of the bed, turning the cracked silver pendant over. In his fingers, the servant's warning still echoed in his mind. No human has survived. No human has survived. The door hissed open without warning. 2 guards entered, but this time they were not alone. Between them walked a figure Elias had not seen before, an alien wearing black ceremonial armor. The armor was decorated with patterns that looked like lightning trapped in metal. The alien's face was hidden behind a smooth mask, only the deep orange glow of his eyes visible. The guards left without a word, leaving the masked alien standing in the center of the room. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then the figure reached up and removed the mask. Elias blinked in surprise. Beneath it was a face that was almost human. The skin was pale with faint blue veins, the eyes larger than human but filled with something Elias recognized: concern. "My name is Kalen," the stranger said quietly. "I am the Queen's personal guard." Elias studied him. "You're here to threaten me or to help me?" he asked. Kalen gave a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That depends on how you take what I'm about to tell you." Kalen stepped closer, his voice dropping even lower. "The bond you will take is not only a test," he said. "It is a key," Elias frowned. "A key to what?" "To the Queen herself," Kalen replied, his tone heavy. "Through it, she will not only see your memories, she will have the power to command you in ways you cannot resist." Elias felt a slow tension rise in his chest. "You mean, control me?" "Yes," Kalen said simply. "It is rare, but the bond can be one-sided if the other is strong enough, and the Queen is stronger than most imagine." He paused, watching Elias carefully. "Once it is done, there is no breaking it." "Not without breaking your mind." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Then why are you warning me? If you're her guard, aren't you supposed to make sure I go through with this?" Kellen's expression darkened. "I have served her for years, and I have seen what this bond can do to someone who is not ready," he said. "It does not kill quickly. It changes you slowly, piece by piece, until you are no longer yourself." Elias thought of the servant's story, the man left hollow-eyed after the test. He looked at Kalen. "Why me? Why now?" Kalen hesitated, then leaned in slightly. "Because I think you might be the first to survive, and that terrifies me." The words hung in the air like a blade before Elias could ask more. The door hissed again, and Varrock entered, the advisors. Silver eyes swept the room, landing on Kalen with a flash of irritation. "What are you doing here, guard?" Varrock asked sharply. Kalen straightened, slipping his mask back on. "Ensuring the human is prepared," he said evenly, without another word. He strode past Varrock and out of the room. Varrock watched him go before turning back to Elias. "You should not listen to every whisper you hear in this place," he said. "The palace has many voices, and not all of them speak truth." Elias smirked faintly. "Funny, that sounds like something a liar would say." Varrock's expression didn't change. "Sleep while you can, Captain. When the first light touches the palace towers, the ritual begins." He left, and the room returned to silence. Elias lay back on the bed, staring at the shifting patterns on the walls. The pendant still rested in his hand, its cracked surface cool against his skin. Kalen's warning mixed with the servants. 2 very different voices saying the same thing. No human survives, and if you do, you may no longer be you. As he closed his eyes, the palace seemed to hum around him, in the darkness behind his eyelids. He imagined golden eyes watching him, unblinking, patient, waiting for sunrise, waiting to see if he was worthy, or if he would break like all the others. Asterisk. The first light of the alien sunrise spilled across the palace towers. The sky outside glowed in shades of silver and violet. casting strange patterns on the walls. Elias stood in the center of his chamber, his hands clenched, the cracked silver pendant hanging around his neck. He had not slept. Every sound in the night had kept him awake. The soft hum of the walls, the footsteps in the distant corridors. The feeling that someone was always watching. The door slid open with a sharp hiss. 2 ceremonial guards entered. Their armor black with gold markings. They did not speak, only motioned for him to follow. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward. Each footstep echoed in the long hallways as they led him deeper into the heart of the palace. The corridors grew darker the further they walked. Torches of blue fire replaced the glowing walls, their light flickering across strange carvings. Elias caught glimpses of alien symbols, spirals, jagged lines, and shapes that seemed to move when he looked at them too long. He felt the air grow heavier, as if the palace itself knew where they were going, at last. The guards stopped before a set of massive doors. The surface shimmered like liquid metal, shifting between solid and transparent. Through it, Elias thought he saw shapes moving, shadows that didn't match the flicker of the torches. One guard touched a crystal plate, and the doors melted away silently. Beyond them was the ritual chamber. It was vast, circular, and alive with color. The walls were made of tall crystal spires, each glowing with a deep inner light. Streams of golden energy ran through the air like flowing rivers. In the center of the chamber, a platform rose from the floor, carved with the same spirals he had seen in the corridors. The queen stood there, dressed in ceremonial armor of silver and deep red. Her crown shimmered as if made of starlight. She turned as Elias entered, her golden eyes locking on his. "You came," she said softly, though her voice carried through the chamber. Elias nodded once. "You didn't give me much of a choice," he replied. A faint curve touched her lips, but it was not quite a smile. "Choices are never free," she said. Varrock stepped forward from the shadows, his silver eyes reflecting the golden energy. "The bond will begin when you step onto the platform," he said. "You will feel pain, but it will not be the pain you know. It will be the weight of another life entering your mind." Elias glanced at the queen. "And if I resist?" Her gaze did not waver. "Then the bond will tear you apart from the inside," she said simply. There was no threat in her tone, only truth. Elias stepped forward, his boots clicking against the crystal floor. As he reached the platform, the air grew warm, the golden streams of energy bending toward him. The queen moved to stand opposite him, only a few steps away. Varrock raised his hands, and the crystal spires began to hum. The sound was low at first, then deepened until it seemed to vibrate inside Elias's bones. The queen extended her hands, palms upward. Elias hesitated, then placed his hands over hers. Her skin was cool, almost metallic, yet there was a pulse beneath it. Slow, steady, powerful. "Look into my eyes," she said. He did, and in that moment, the world seemed to tilt. The golden streams of energy twisted into a spiral, wrapping around them both. Elias felt a sharp pressure at the base of his skull, as if invisible hands were reaching into his mind. Images burst behind his eyes, flashes of battles, alien cities, faces he didn't recognize. They came faster, blending with his own memories. He saw Earth's blue skies overlaid with alien suns, the laughter of his childhood mixing with the screams of alien war. He gasped, but the queen's grip tightened. Her voice echoed inside his mind, not in his ears. "Do not fight it." Her memories hit harder, the weight of a crown on her head, the crushing silence of ruling alone, the betrayal of those she trusted most. Elias staggered, feeling her pain as if it were his own. The fear, the loss, the endless burden. He tried to push his own thoughts forward, the faces of soldiers he had saved, the sound of rain on his homeworld, the stubborn resolve that had carried him through countless battles. For a moment, he felt her reaction, surprise, then something like curiosity. The golden energy flared brighter, wrapping tighter. It was no longer just memories. It was emotions, raw and unfiltered, her suspicion, his determination, her loneliness, his loyalty, all twisting together. And then, for the briefest moment, he felt something else, a warmth that was not his, a flicker of trust forming in the storm, but it vanished just as quickly, replaced by the crushing weight of the rituals. Power, the room around them faded, replaced by a vast space of shifting light and shadow. Elias realized they were no longer standing in the chamber. They were inside the bond itself. The world inside the bond was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. It was not space, not land, not sky. It was everything and nothing at once. Shapes moved in the distance, shifting like smoke. Colors bled into each other. It felt endless. Yet every step seemed to bring him closer to something. Beside him, the queen stood tall, her eyes glowing brighter than before. This is the bond's core. Her voice echoed in his head. Here, there are no lies, no walls, no masks. Elias turned slowly, taking in the strange horizon where light and shadow clashed like living storms. What happens now? He asked. Now, she said. We see if you can carry me, and if I can carry you. Her words had barely faded when the ground beneath them cracked. From the rift, a surge of energy exploded upward. Images poured into his mind faster than he could breathe. Her childhood on a cold throne, her first battle, the moment she killed her own brother for the crown. The weight of that choice crushed his chest until it hurt to breathe. He staggered, clutching his head. The queen's gaze never left him. But he could feel her struggling too. His memories were pushing into her. The sound of Earth's rain, the laughter of his mother, the desperate screams of a battlefield. She flinched when she saw the blood on his hands, not from cruelty, but from every friend he couldn't save. The bond's energy tightened around them. It was no longer a slow merging. It was a storm. The shapes in the distance became figures, both human and alien. They were memories made flesh, walking toward them, each one carrying the weight of the past. One alien figure, tall and armored, stepped forward. It was the queen's former general, the one who had betrayed her. Elias saw her jaw tighten as the figure spoke in a voice like steel. You cannot trust anyone, not even him, the words echoed. Not only in her mind, but in his, for a moment. Elias felt the pull of her doubt like a chain around his throat. Then another figure stepped from his side, a soldier he had fought. Beside, the man's face was pale, his uniform soaked in blood. You left me there, Cain. The voice snarled. Elias's knees weakened under the weight of guilt. The queen felt it too, and her eyes narrowed. This is your loyalty? She demanded, her voice sharp. It's the truth, he shot back. I can't change what happened, but I didn't stop fighting. The storm around them grew violent. Golden and black energy clashed in the air, striking like lightning. The bond's spiral began to twist tighter, pulling them toward its center. Elias felt his thoughts slipping, his identity scattering like sand in the wind. If he lost focus now, he would be nothing, just another hollow shell like the ones they warned him about. He forced himself to move, stepping forward into the heart of the storm. Every step burned, every memory tore at him. But he kept going until he stood face to face with the queen. Her eyes were fierce, but there was a flicker of something else, fear. Why do you keep standing? She asked. Because I'm still me, he said, and I'm not letting you tear that away. For the first time she looked uncertain. Another surge of energy slammed into them both. It was stronger than before, a wave meant to break them. Entirely, Elias felt himself falling, his vision blurring. But in that moment, he reached for her hand. The instant their palms met, something shifted. The golden energy flared, burning away the shadows. The storm slowed, the voices faded. Elias could feel her thoughts, not as an attack but as something shared. She could feel his too, and for the first time. She didn't push them away, they stood in silence. The spiral of energy now calm, but beneath that calm was something dangerous. The bond had not broken, but it had not yet settled. One wrong move, and it would still destroy them both. The Storm was gone, only silence remained, heavy and deep. Elias stood in the strange, endless space, his breathing slow, his heart still pounding from the fight with the bond. The queen faced him, her golden eyes brighter than ever, but now they were not cold, they were searching, watching him as if she was seeing him for the first time. "This is the deepest part of the bond," her voice echoed in his mind. "Here. There is no hiding, no pretending." Elias looked around. The space around them had changed. The swirling storms had become a still ocean of golden light, stretching into infinity. Their feet stood on nothing, yet it felt solid, every movement sent ripples of light spreading outwards. He felt a pull, gentle but irresistible. The bond was leading them to something. Shapes began to rise from the light, memories, not the chaos of before, but moments frozen in perfect clarity. Elias saw himself as a boy, running through the streets of his old neighborhood on Earth. He saw his first day in the military, the pride on his father's face. And he felt her watching these moments, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Then her memories rose. Elias saw a young girl on a balcony high above an alien city. She was staring at the stars, her hands gripping the rail so tight they shook. He felt her loneliness like a cold wind. He saw her rise to power, her victories in battle, her moments of triumph, but also the shadows that followed, the betrayals, the assassinations, the endless whispers of distrust from her own court. "You've been alone your whole life," Elias said quietly. She didn't deny it. "And you," she replied, "have been loyal even when it hurt you." Her words struck something inside him. The bond pulsed between them. It was not just connecting their minds. It was making them see the weight each carried. Then something shifted. The golden light around them grew brighter. A single image formed, floating between them. It was the battlefield where Elias had saved her soldiers. But this time, he saw it from her perspective. Through her eyes, he watched himself charge into the fight, dragging wounded aliens to safety. He saw the moment her soldiers realized he was human, and yet still fighting for them, and he felt her shock, her disbelief, and deep down, her respect. "This," she said, "is why I chose you." Elias frowned. "You mean the test?" "No," she said, her voice softer now. "I mean for something greater than the test." He stared at her. "What are you saying?" "I need someone who will stand even when the world tells them to fall," she said. "I need someone who will not break under the weight of trust. Someone who will not betray me." The words hung in the air. Elias didn't answer immediately. Instead, he let her see the truth in his mind, the faces of every ally he had stood beside, every risk he had taken for those he barely knew. He let her feel the stubborn fire that had kept him alive through war after war. And he saw her expression change. The faintest smile touched her lips. "You are unlike any I have met," she said, almost to herself. The bond pulsed again, stronger than before. It was no longer a storm or a chain. It felt like a bridge, something that connected without crushing. For the first time, Elias felt no pain from it. Instead, there was understanding, but beneath that new calm, he felt something else, a shadow in her thoughts, a truth she had not spoken. He saw a flicker of it, a vision of alien ships gathering far from this place, fleets prepared for war. The image vanished. As quickly as it came, her eyes locked on his, and he realized she knew what he had just seen. "That," she said quietly, "is why loyalty matters more than ever." Her voice was steady, but there was a weight in it that made him uneasy. The bond had shown them both what they needed to see, but it had also shown Elias that whatever was coming was far bigger than the test. The golden light faded. The endless ocean of memories dissolved. Elias felt the ground return under his feet. The crystal platform of the ritual chamber, the hum of the spires was softer now, almost like a steady heartbeat. The bond had not broken. It was there, settled deep inside him, quiet but alive. The queen still stood before him, her golden eyes locked on his, and he knew she could feel his thoughts even without speaking. He could feel hers too, not every detail, but the steady pulse of her presence. They were connected now in a way that could never be undone. Varrock stepped forward cautiously, his silver eyes flicking between them. "It is done?" he asked. The queen straightened, her voice carrying across the chamber. "It is done," she said. Gasps and whispers filled the shadows around them. Elias turned slightly and realized they had not been alone. The High Council had been watching. From the edges of the chamber, their expressions were a mix of disbelief, curiosity, and fear. "No outsider has ever passed the test of loyalty," one counselor muttered. Another, bolder, spoke louder. "This is dangerous. The bond could be used against us." The queen's head turned sharply toward him. "Or it could be the one thing that saves us," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She stepped closer to Elias, her voice lowering just enough for only he to hear. "You stood when others would have fallen human," she said. "You have my trust and my protection." Elias gave a faint nod. "And you have mine," he replied. The queen turned to the chamber, raising one hand. "From this day forward, Captain Elias Kane will serve as my chosen protector," she declared. The words rang through the chamber. Like a strike of metal on stone, gasps turned to murmurs. And the air seemed to shift with the weight of the announcement. Two guards approached, carrying a ceremonial cloak made of black and silver fabric that shimmered in the golden light. They draped it over Elias's shoulders, the weight both literal and symbolic. He could feel the eyes of every counselor on him, some measuring him, others already plotting. As the ritual ended, the queen began to lead him out of the chamber. The golden streams of energy faded back into the crystal walls. But just as they reached the doors, Elias felt something through the bond, a flicker of the vision he had seen before. Alien fleets, hundreds of warships, waiting in the dark reaches of space. He looked at her sharply. She didn't turn, but her voice echoed in his mind. "You saw it, didn't you?" "Yes," he answered silently. "Then you know why I need you," she replied. There was no fear in her tone, only determination, but beneath it, Elias sensed the truth. The test had never just been about loyalty. It had been about preparing for a war that was already on its way. They stepped into the open balcony above the alien city. The sky was still painted in the strange silver and violet of morning. The city's towers gleamed, the air filled with the hum of distant engines. Somewhere far beyond those skies, enemies were gathering, and now, Elias was bound to the one person who could stand against them, and who could just as easily destroy him. As they stood side by side, the queen glanced at him. "Your real test," she said quietly, "begins now." The wind caught the edge of his new cloak, sending it billowing behind him. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The bond spoke for him, and in that silence, both of them knew. Whatever came next, neither of them would face it alone.